Uh, Hi, Virgo. I'm Anna from Virgo, and you're both sitting there like idiots waiting uh, for the other person to be brave first. This stalemate ends soon, whether you participate or whether chemistry just combusts on its own. Pay attention. There's specific torture in mutual interest that nobody acknowledges. You feel it, they feel it, everyone around you probably feels it, can sense the charge in the air when you're in same room, can see the way your attention tracks each other even when you're pretending not to notice, can feel how conversation shifts when one of you speaks, how the energy changes, how suddenly everyone else becomes background noise because the only person that actually matters is right there, so close, so available, so clearly interested if you just reach across the microscopic distance and claim what's obviously mutual. But neither of you moves, neither makes the gesture, neither says the words. Neither risks being the one who admits first, because admitting first feels vulnerable, feels exposed, feels like handing someone power to reject you, even though rejection seems unlikely given how obvious their interest is. Except obvious from outside isn't the same as certain from inside. And when you're inside your own fear, their interest never feels obvious enough to guarantee safety, never feels clear enough to eliminate risk entirely, never feels like sufficient evidence to justify being the one who speaks first. So you wait, they wait, both waiting for the other to go first, both hoping the other will be brave so you can be brave in response, can meet their vulnerability with matching vulnerability that feels safer than initiating vulnerability yourself. Both creating this ridiculous standoff where the thing you both want is right there, is available, is basically guaranteed if either of you would just stop performing indifference and start performing interest. And it's absurd, genuinely absurd. Two people who want each other refusing to reach for each other because reaching feels scary, feels risky, feels like too much, when actually too much would be watching this opportunity expire because both of you were too proud or too scared or too committed to outdated rules about who makes first move to just be honest about the electricity that's been building every single time you're near each other. Here's what's about to change that dynamic and why the standoff is ending, whether you're ready or not. The tension has shelf life. This will they, won't they energy that's been sustaining the attraction, that's been keeping it exciting through anticipation, through possibility, through the delicious uncertainty of maybe they feel what I feel. That energy doesn't last forever. Eventually, it curdles. Eventually, waiting stops feeling like romantic tension and starts feeling like rejection, like disinterest, like if they wanted me, they would have made a move by now. So clearly, they don't want me the way I want them, and I need to stop hoping and start moving on. You're approaching that shift, both of you. The tension that's been electric is starting to feel heavy. The anticipation that's been exciting is becoming frustrating. The mutual interest that's been unspoken is creating doubt instead of hope, because if the interest was real, if the feelings were genuine, if the attraction was as strong as it felt, wouldn't someone have done something by now? Wouldn't the chemistry have translated into action instead of just being this endless loop of charged glances and careful proximity and conversations that hint at deeper connection without ever explicitly stating what's actually happening between you? This doubt is the catalyst. This frustration is what breaks the stalemate. Because one of you is about to hit the point where waiting feels worse than risking, where not knowing feels more painful than potential rejection, where the regret of never trying starts to outweigh the safety of never being explicitly turned down. And when one of you breaks, when one of you finally makes the move, the ignition is immediate, is intense, is all the pent up wanting that's been accumulating during the waiting, finally finding outlet, finding expression, finding the permission it's been denied, while both of you performed casual when there's been nothing casual about this from the beginning. Let me show you what the move looks like when it finally happens and how to recognize the moment before it happens so you're not caught completely unprepared. The move won't be subtle. After all this build up, after all this waiting, subtlety is done. Subtlety is what's been maintaining the standoff. Subtlety is both of you hinting without stating, suggesting without claiming, creating plausible deniability that lets you retreat if signals get misread. When the move comes, it's direct, it's unmistakable. It's one of you looking at the other and saying, I need to tell you something. Or, can we talk about what's happening between us? Or, I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. Words that make it impossible to misunderstand, impossible to interpret as friendly interest, impossible to respond to without addressing the actual thing, the actual attraction, the actual mutual wanting that's been the elephant in every room you've shared. Or the move is physical. Is one of you finally closing the distance, finally touching in a way that's clearly not casual? Finally making contact that says, I want you without needing words, because touch communicates what mouths have been too scared to say, hand reaching for hand, body leaning into body. Eye contact that holds instead of breaking, that lets the other person see the desire that's been carefully hidden behind friendly masks and appropriate boundaries, and all the performance of not wanting when wanting has been the primary experience of every interaction since this thing started building. The moment before the move, you'll feel shift in energy. Something changes in the room, in their posture, in how they're looking at you, in the quality of silence that settles when conversation pauses, in the air itself, which suddenly feels charged differently, feels like something's about to happen, feels like the waiting is ending and the doing is beginning, and whatever comes next will change everything because finally, someone is being brave enough to speak the truth. Everyone's been dancing around. Pay attention to that shift. That's your warning. That's your preparation time. That's universe giving you seconds to decide how you'll respond when they finally do what you've both been avoiding. When they finally say what needs saying or do what needs doing to break this ridiculous stalemate that's been keeping both of you from having what you both clearly want. And here's what's crucial: when they make the move, when they're the one who's finally brave, you have to meet them. You have to match their courage. You can't make them do all the work of being vulnerable while you stay protected behind ambiguity. Behind, I need to think about it, or I wasn't expecting this, when you absolutely were expecting this, have been hoping for this, have been waiting for exactly this, while simultaneously being too scared to initiate it yourself. If you want them, if the interest is genuinely mutual, if this isn't just you enjoying their attention without actually wanting relationship, then when they move, you move too. You say yes clearly. You reciprocate, obviously. You let them know that their risk was worth taking because you feel it too. You want it too. You've been waiting for this too, and you're glad, you're relieved, you're excited that finally the pretending is over and the actual thing can begin. This reflection invites you to consider, if they make the first move tomorrow, are you actually ready to reciprocate, or are you enjoying the tension more than you'd enjoy the relationship? Now, let me address why neither of you has moved yet, despite mutual interest being obvious. Because understanding the block helps you override it when the moment comes, helps you say yes instead of defaulting to protective patterns that have been keeping you stuck in standoff. Block one, fear of ruining friendship. If you're already in each other's lives as friends, as colleagues, as people who see each other regularly in contexts that would become awkward if romance attempt failed, a fear of losing that existing connection keeps both of you from risking the upgrade. What if I'm wrong about their interest? What if they don't feel what I feel? What if making a move destroys the comfortable thing we have, even though the comfortable thing is actually torture because I want more and pretending I don't is slowly killing me? This fear is legitimate but often overstated. Most friendships that have genuine romantic chemistry weren't actually sustainable as just friendships anyway. The chemistry creates tension that eventually becomes untenable. Either you address it and become romantic partners, or you avoid it and drift apart because maintaining friendship when you want more becomes too painful, too frustrating, too much like settling for crumbs when you want the whole meal. So the choice isn't actually preserve friendship or risk romance. The choice is try for romance or lose each other anyway, when unacknowledged attraction makes friendship impossible to sustain. Block 2, pride about who initiates. Outdated gender norms, power dynamics, belief that whoever moves first is somehow more invested, more vulnerable, more likely to be taken for granted or treated poorly because they revealed they cared first. This is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Whoever moves first is just braver, is willing to prioritize having what they want over protecting their ego, is mature enough to recognize that playing games about who admits feelings first is precisely what keeps people alone, keeps people in yearning instead of having, keeps people performing indifference about the thing they most desperately want. If you want them, move. Don't wait for them to prove they want you by moving first. Don't create tests they don't know they're taking. Don't punish them for not being brave when you're not being brave either. Just be honest. Just be direct. Just say, I like you as more than friend, and let their response tell you whether mutual interest is real or whether you've been reading signals that weren't actually signals. Block 3, fear of intensity. You both feel how strong this is, how consuming it would be if you let it be, how much it would change your life to actually be with this person instead of just circling them endlessly. And that intensity is scary, feels like loss of control, feels like you'd be swept away, like you'd lose yourself in them, like the chemistry is so powerful that entering it means surrendering to something you can't manage or moderate or keep casual. But you're already swept away, you're already thinking about them constantly. You're already organizing your life around opportunities to see them. You're already emotionally invested in ways that make staying uninvolved to protect yourself laughable because you're involved, you're completely involved. You're just involved while pretending you're not, which is more painful than being involved while acknowledging you are. The intensity exists whether you act on it or not. Acting on it at least gives you the pleasure of mutual exploration instead of just solo yearning. This reflection invites you to consider which block is strongest for you and what would it take to override it. Let me tell you what happens when the ignition finally occurs. First, there's relief, massive relief. The tension that's been building finally releases, the wondering finally ends. The performance of casual finally drops, and you both get to just be honest about the fact that this has been consuming both of you, that the attraction is mutual, that all the waiting and hinting and carefully managed proximity was both of you doing the same dance of wanting without claiming, of desiring without declaring. That relief feels like exhaling after holding your breath for months. Feels like permission to finally feel what you've been feeling. Feels like coming home to something you didn't know you were homesick for until the homesickness ends and you realize how much psychic energy you were spending on managing the tension, on maintaining the pretense, on being appropriate when appropriate was torture. Second, there's rush. The chemistry that's been theoretical becomes actual. The touching that's been carefully limited becomes exploratory. The conversations that have been edited for safety become unfiltered. Everything intensifies because the dam that was holding it back breaks and all the pent up wanting floods forward at once. This rush is intoxicating, is thrilling, is exactly what you've been craving. But rush is also where people make mistakes if they're not careful, where they move too fast physically before establishing emotional foundation, where they confuse chemistry with compatibility, where they assume that attraction this strong must mean relationship will be easy, when actually strong attraction often correlates with strong challenges because intensity cuts both ways. Enjoy the rush. Let yourself feel the euphoria of finally having what you've wanted. But don't let rush override wisdom. Don't let chemistry convince you to skip important conversations about what you both want, what you both need, whether you're actually compatible beyond the undeniable fact that you want to rip each other's clothes off. Third, there's vulnerability. Once you've admitted you care, once you've shown your hand, you can't take it back. You've given them power to hurt you. You've revealed that you're invested in ways that make rejection devastating instead of just disappointing. This vulnerability is necessary for intimacy, for actual connection, for building something real. But it's uncomfortable, feels dangerous, activates every wound you have around being rejected, being abandoned, being not enough for someone you care about. Sit with the vulnerability, don't run from it, Don't try to reestablish emotional distance to protect yourself from potential hurt. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself need them. Let yourself want them openly instead of maintaining escape routes in case wanting them turns out to be mistake. This reflection invites you to consider when ignition happens, what will be hardest for you, the rush or the vulnerability. Finally, let me speak to what you should do right now before the move happens. Decide what you actually want, not what you should want, not what makes sense, what you actually want. Do you want relationship with this person, or do you just want the tension, the excitement, the ego validation of being desired? Do you want them, or do you want the fantasy of them? Do you want to build something real, or do you want to keep this suspended in possibility where it's perfect because it's never tested against reality? Be honest with yourself. Because if you don't actually want relationship, if you just want the chase or the attention or the flattery, then when they make the move, the kind thing is to be clear about that. To say, I'm attracted to you, but I'm not actually available for relationship. To not waste their courage, their vulnerability, their risk on something you know won't go anywhere because you don't want it to go anywhere. But if you do want them, if you want the actual relationship and not just the tension, then prepare yourself to say yes, to be clear, to match their bravery with your bravery, to stop hiding behind ambiguity and start claiming what you want. Neither of you wants to make the first move, but someone will soon. When they do, be ready, be honest, be brave enough to receive what you've been wanting. This love is about to ignite. The only question is whether you'll let it burn or whether you'll try to smother it with fear, with pride, with all the protective mechanisms that have been keeping you safe but also keeping you lonely. Choose the burn, choose the risk, choose the possibility over the protection. You've been circling each other long enough. Time to actually touch. Take care, Virgo. Bye.